Partisanship has been thrust into this nonpartisan election and now cannot be ignored. The next three questions are devoted to it. Starting with Stan. Do you believe the city charter should be changed to create partisan races similar to the county charter?
The city's current charter was established in 1945. That's a quick 70 years ago. And it prohibited identification of candidates by party on the ballot, which started a long tradition of nonpartisan elections in the city. I support this nonpartisan endeavor, this legacy of nonpartisanship, but the reality is that the parties are in it up to their necks right now. The Democrats started it, the Republicans have responded, and now, whether you like it or not, it's become a partisan race. And I get emails from constituents saying, are you a Democrat or a Republican? Well, like, it doesn't make any difference. Because what issue in the city is partisan? I would really like to know if there is a partisan divide on issues in the city of Sarasota. Why do we need a partisan election if we have no partisan issues to decide? So I have no choice but to be involved with this because, I thought I was going to come to a knife fight and suddenly shooting broke out. Or to put it another way, my neighbor came to me about 2.5 months ago, and she knocked on my door, and when I opened the door, she goes, "You're all right." I said, "Well, yeah." She goes, "Come outside, look." And she pointed up to the sky, and there were buzzards circling over our house. And we found the dead possum for sure, and everybody was relieved. All the children were accounted for. But 2 months later, I realized that was an omen. And I'll just leave it at that.
Eileen?
I hate following Stan. This is impossible. Repeat the actual question.
Do you believe the city charter should be changed to create partisan races similar to the county charter?
No, I think the city charter should be changed to make it harder for the parties to enter the races. The charter in Tampa has quite a few regulations in it that would make it very difficult for the parties. I have to tell you, to be caught in this maelstrom is quite an experience. You really have to read my book after it comes out. I've been asked questions about abortion. I've been asked questions about the XL pipeline, how I feel about ISIS. Really, there is no place for that in the city. The fact is, once you're divided along partisan lines, there is a barrier there. The parties are divided these days, in case you haven't read the newspaper. When I got on the city commission, I swear to you, I barely knew who was in what party. I knew I wanted to work with those people because they had done good things, and I wanted to do good things too, and I could care less what party they're in. I would like to see that continue because I do believe it puts up barriers that need not be in a city. This is about potholes. It's about sewage and brine and deep injection wells and historic preservation. It's not about which side of the party aisle you would sit on in Washington.
Thank you. Shelley?
As someone who's new and a new person that's coming into this elected race, I found out quite quickly that neighbors cared. Unfortunately, would ask the question, let's talk about development, what party are you in? And then I would have to remind them, it's about transportation, it's about development, it's about housing, it's about infrastructure. And inevitably the question would come, where do you sit? What's your party affiliation? I believe that the issues that the city needs to address are nonpartisan. How we feel about homelessness, what we're going to do to balance the budget, how we're going to address the connectivity of our city streets, bicycle paths, and make our city a better place. How we're going to repair relationships with the county in order to move forward. What we're going to do about regional dollars in terms of making the city and the county pay their fair share for moving our city forward. And that's what I'm here for. That's why I came to the table, to offer solutions, to offer a strategic plan, to offer skill, and to offer compassion. Those things don't have a party affiliation. Those things are who we are as individuals, who we are as neighbors, and who we are as elected officials. So that's where I stand. I'm a simple person. I want to solve a problem. I want to work with people who want to solve problems, and I want to provide incentives to getting involved in government and to moving our city forward. To me, those are not partisan issues.
Thank you, Liz.
I also don't think the city charter needs to be changed in terms of nonpartisan race, because many of the issues that the city faces are not party issues. However, I think it's somewhat disingenuous for the other party to claim that the Democrats were the first ones to get into this election. Every election in our city, in our county, for school boards have had partisan party involvement. This is not the first time. It is just now everyone is making it an issue, but it is the party's place to get their voters out, and that doesn't mean it's a nonpartisan election. And like Shelley, I have the same experience when I go door to door. Many people I talk to, they're fine, but there are a number of people who will say, what's your party? And based on that, they decide whether they're supporting you or not. It's just a fact of life that people sometimes don't have the time to get informed about the candidates, and at least the party affiliation gives them some idea of the worldview of that candidate. I've got bipartisan support in this race. I have Republicans supporting me, I have Democrats supporting me, and I appreciate the support of both parties.
Liz, you'll be the beginning of this line too. Do you believe the county partisan races make for better governance and less corruption than the city nonpartisan races?
I don't think whether there's a party designation or not has anything to do with whether there's corruption in city or county government. Somebody's party affiliation is not going to make them corrupt or not corrupt, so I don't think that's a factor.
Shelley? Do you believe the county partisan races make for better governance and less corruption than the city nonpartisan races?
I think it's about the people. I think it's about the ability of the elected officials to work with their constituents. I think it's about the ability to come together and provide a plan that moves our community forward. That's not less corruption, that's better governing. Those are people who have a mind to serve the community. I think the issue that we haven't talked about is whether dollars and money that's infused into elections brings about that result. I think that's a different discussion. But in terms of whether it's a county race or a city race and whether that alludes to more corruption, absolutely not. It's an individual determination, and we all want the same thing. We all want to represent our constituents. We all want better policies. We all want to move the city forward, that city and county. So I don't think that that alludes whether or not we're going to have corruption or not. It's about the people, it's about the policies, and it's about the willingness to move forward.
Thank you. Eileen?
Hard to say whether party involvement in the county involves corruption. I think Shelley's right. It's about money. It's about influence. You can be influenced by anybody. I've had people ask me if I promise to vote a certain way, they'll vote for me. I tell them I will vote how I will vote when I get to that issue based on the best interests of the city. I do believe when the parties are involved, there are pressures put on you to do certain things. I'm sure both parties are at fault here. But I don't think you can blame the parties so much for corruption. I think it's in the person and possibly the people that the parties attract.
Stan?
Well, I have some claim to knowledge about corruption because as a reporter, I've spent some time helping concoct stories that sent 2 elected officials to jail. One was the Republican property appraiser of Palm Beach County, and the other one was a nonpartisan mayor of the city of Sarasota. It's not the party, it's the susceptibility of the individual to be corrupt. And I would just like to add, it's very easy, and I hear this as a reporter all the time, all those people are corrupt. It's like, if they're corrupt, all you have to do is give me one small piece of evidence, and I will help put them in jail because I've done it before. Just give me one copy of a canceled check. Give me one little piece of videotape. Give me one piece of evidence that there is corruption, and if it looks real to me, I'm going to get them. Because I've got them in the past, and I have the skills to do it again. So if you want to send a corruption fighter to City Hall, I have proven credentials. Republican or Democrat or nonpartisan.
This line goes from you, Stan. Do you believe decisions about advisory boards, appointed commissioners, and construction contracts should be based on political ties?
Construction contracts, no. Advisory boards, you put the best people you can find on advisory boards if you want the best advice. If you want less than good advice, you put less than good people on your advisory boards. And it takes not just me as a single commissioner to put people on an advisory board, it takes the city commission at least 3 of 5 to do that. So if 3 of the 5 are influenced politically, well then politics sticks its nose in the advisory board tent. But it's not going to impact on my decision because I want the best advice possible.
Thank you. Eileen?
Well, I think that's really a good example of why you don't want to politicize City Hall. If you have everyone from one party, is there a better possibility that you're going to ask the construction company whether or not he's donated, or whether or not he is of your party before you put him on an advisory board? I think that's a possibility. It shouldn't happen in Sarasota. The idea that we have divided government, and by divided I don't mean we are not working together, divided right now, in fact, by party. 3 Democrats, 2 Republicans, we don't care. When we get an advisory board application, they're not allowed to give a party designation for starters. I sure don't care, and I don't want to know. What I want to know is what kind of background you have, what you can do. What can you do for us, the city? So I absolutely think none of that should ever enter into that, and I still believe it also should not enter into the city election.
Thank you.
Oh, and I put people in jail as well.
Thank you.
I was a prosecutor. I missed that.
It's a quick no. When you ask someone, how do you feel about your utility rates going up? When you ask someone, do you have a bicycle lane on your street? When you ask someone, how's the traffic? When you ask someone, how do you feel about homelessness? Those are issues that transcend across our community regardless as to what the party affiliation is. We should have that same mind when we are electing or appointing individuals to represent us in the various advisory boards in the city. So my opinion is absolutely not. It should not have a bearing. However, I think for us to have a conversation that doesn't state the obvious, that people have interests that they care about, will be disingenuous. Neighborhoods have issues that they care about. Developers have issues that they care about. Bicyclists have issues that they care about. And that's why we have good government, so that everyone has a seat at the table to bring their issues to a full commission to address issues. To me, there's room for everybody. If you live on my street and you have an issue, then that's fine. If you live on a street that doesn't have a neighborhood association, that's still fine, because we all have issues that we care about. So making those appointments, I don't think it has a place, but for us to kind of have a conversation and not state the obvious, I think we're wasting time.
Thank you. Liz?
Well, I think it's interesting that my opponent would talk about that, you know, the city should be nonpartisan, and I agree with that. But then on the other hand, she's intimating that, but if we get all Democrats on the city commission, they might just only hire Democratic construction people or appoint Democrats to the, for policy board decisions. Rather than saying, well, now if we have just, 3 Democrats and 2 Republicans, that won't happen.
Let's get
So
to your, Liz.
we're putting party in there. So my answer is,
Okay.
no, we shouldn't.
Thank you.
We shouldn't appoint based on party.
Thank you. Starting with you, the next question will go down the line. Liz, did you attend the mobility workshop, and what did you take away from it? That was this week.
I did not attend the mobility workshop. I had someone there taking notes for me in the mobility workshop, and I do look at these things online afterwards about what's going on. So I haven't looked at that one yet, but I will be. I look at these on my computer.
Okay, thank you. Shelley?
Because of a work obligation, I was not able to attend the workshop. However, I have met with heads at the department to discuss mobility issues and have worked with and had conferences with the North Trail Redevelopment Partnership to determine what some of the issues are and going ahead with the mobility study and ways that they can partner together to try to bring forth a cohesive cultural district plan.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess I'm done.
We're going to run out of time. Eileen?
I did attend the mobility workshop. I'll talk really fast.
No, I don't mean for this particular question. I mean for all of the questions. There are a couple of questions that are designed sort of for quick answers. So I'm going to try and get people not to do their platform and to answer the question.
Okay, do you want me to answer the mobility?
Yes. Did you attend the mobility workshop, and what did you take away from it?
I attended the mobility workshop. They handed out a map, which is a spaghetti warren of bicycle trails, all different colors, and they had a lot of bicycle enthusiasts there who were giving feedback to the city based on various pictures that were put up about different types of bicycle lanes for different types of bicycle riders and different locations. And I think it's about feedback, and there are no decisions have been made.
Thank you, Stan.
I did not attend the mobility workshop, and it runs a little bit counter to my decision-making practice, if you will. I don't think I have to attend every conceivable public meeting to have a grasp of what the subject is about, and that when it comes to the city commission level, it will have gone through, hopefully, a full vetting by users, opponents, supporters, neighbors, businesses, and by the time it gets to the city commission level, all of this should have been ironed out and easy to understand. No more spaghetti maps, no more, left side of the hall, right side of the hall divisions. It's not my role to be a micromanager. It's my role to be a policymaker, and sometimes you have to operate at the 5,000-foot level to make good policy and not get stuck down in the weeds.
Thank you.
So I intentionally don't go to the Bobby Jones Golf Committee Advisory Board or many of the other city advisory boards unless there's a problem.
Thank you. Starting with you, Stan. Do you support or oppose the 2 proposed amendments to the city charter concerning petitions and election rules?
I wholeheartedly support both proposed changes to the city's charter and encourage everyone in this room to vote yes.
Thank you. Eileen?
Oh, I absolutely support them. The city commission helped write them. They're housekeeping amendments that tighten up the requirements for who may be appointed to the city commission as opposed to running for election, and the length of time you have to live in a district. And the other is about the length of time a petitioner can gather signatures. It's as simple as that. They're two housekeeping.
Thank you. Shelley?
Yes, I agree with both. I think they're consistent with what's previously on the city charter now, and I think that essentially it cleared up some omissions, so I do support both.
Liz?
Same.
Thank you. Starting with you, Liz. Have you complied with all local and state election laws during your campaign?
Yes.
Shelley?
Yes.
Eileen?
I certainly hope so, yes. Yes.
Stan?
Yes, and I will say that Shelley may be alighting over a problem. She was fined $500 for not meeting statutory requirements. In other words, violating Florida election law.
Starting with you, Stan. I'm going to quote something directly from the County Comprehensive Plan. The County Comprehensive Plan requires it to, and this is in quotes, create and coordinate with its municipalities a planning alliance in order to more fully and comprehensively preserve and strengthen existing communities, provide for a variety of land uses and lifestyles that are necessary to support residents of diverse ages, incomes, and family sizes, and balance jobs with housing. Although this requirement was brought to the attention of the county last year, no alliance has materialized. What steps would you take to make it a reality?
This is lovely language, and it follows a lovely concept that we can all work together, in planning our future. That language has been in the county's comprehensive plan for years, and it repeatedly shows up at forums like this. It shows up in campaign debates. However, the county is the one that is responsible for assembling this together. The cities of the county and any other groups perhaps that might want to participate could get together collectively and say, here we are, we're the official body that's talked about in the county's comprehensive plan, but without the county actually making the appointments, it does not fulfill the requirements of the county's comp plan.
Thank you. Eileen?
Well, clearly it's in the purview of the county. So are you asking what can the city commission do? It certainly can express its opinion. The city has been trying to express its opinion quite frequently to the county, and it has